everyone, this is Aaron Fitz from ATF Gaming, and welcome back to the ATF NASCAR Weekly Review. This is the fourth review we have done now, and this week we have a triple header at Las Vegas, Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. This review should be a little bit shorter because there is less things to talk about. And it's pretty sad when the biggest topic we have to talk about is the truck race, honestly. So let's start with the truck race. Kyle Busch, the only Cup driver running the truck race this week, was on the pole. Stuart Friesen, really good qualifying effort, starting second. Johnny Sauter's third, Spencer Davis fourth, and Noah Gragson fifth. So all three Kyle Busch Motorsports cars in the top five. Justin Marks making his first truck start. He was running the 54 for the Gilliland Motorsports team. He and John Hunter Nemechek had some minor contact on the start, and that causes about 20 laps later Justin Marks to spin out because of tire wear. And Kyle Busch pits, and then on the restart, John Hunter Nemechek had a flat tire, and as far as I assume, that came from the initial start. So that was really it for stage one. Noah Gragson ended up winning stage one. Spencer Davis stage two. Kyle Busch came back. Not stage two. Gragson wins stage one. Davis finished second in stage one. Kyle Busch ended up coming back to third after having to make the unscheduled stop. Stuart Friesen fourth, and Myatt Snider fifth. So all three Kyle Busch Motorsports cars in the top three. Matt Crafton had issues. I did not see what happened to him, and it wasn't very explained very well, but he had issues, and he went to the garage, and I believe he stayed in the garage. And overall, this truck race, there was a lot of good racing. My belief is that it's because the trucks can run pretty much flat out at Las Vegas, and that causes the need for drafting. Since everybody's running the same engine, it's almost like having a restrictor plate because everybody's on equal footing. Because everybody except for Brett Moffitt basically had the exact same engine, everybody was so even that the draft ended up playing a pretty big factor in this race. So it was very, very eventful racing. And Stuart Friesen ends up winning stage two, so he's having a really good run. So Myatt Snider, also a good run, finishes second in stage two. Kyle Busch third, Ben Rhodes fourth, and Brett Moffitt fifth. Let's see, so moving on, there was a spin. Justin Haley spun and collected Myatt Snider because they were going four wide. I don't know if it was a restart or if it was just extremely aggressive racing, but Myatt Snider got involved, and that's the end of the big day for him. Brett Moffitt ended up getting the lead during the final stage, but he had a lot of issues with lapped cars, and it just was not pretty. And he made contact with lap traffic on at least 3 occasions while leading. The final one ended up costing him the lead, and Kyle Busch took the lead. But then there was another caution. With 15 laps to go, the 20 car, I'm not sure who it was. It was the name I didn't recognize. But that was one of the cars that Brett Moffitt had issues with. But that was the cause of the caution. They had a restart, and Kyle Busch did end up winning the race. But I'm not too mad about that. Normally I would be mad about, Cup regulars winning in the lower series. But he had to work for it. This entire race, he had to work for it. So that's a well-deserved win in my book. Johnny Sauter ended up finishing second. Brett Moffitt fell to third. Grant Enfinger fourth. And Stuart Friesen rounds out his good day in a fifth-place finish. So that kind of brings the question of, should this kind of racing be customary in the truck series at bigger tracks? And I think yes, especially with what they've been forced to do with the spec engines. Everybody's going to have the same engine. They're going to be relatively close to each other. So I think for the most part, that would be a good thing for the truck series. It makes the truck series even more interesting than they already are. And in my opinion, and I've told this to people who I know who are like, oh, I don't really want to watch NASCAR anymore. It's so boring, and Cup Series racing can be boring. So I tell them, watch the Truck Series. That's usually the most exciting race of the weekend when they're racing, doing triple headers, double headers, all that. It's usually the most interesting race of the weekend. And that definitely held true this weekend. So, moving on to the Xfinity race, Christopher Bell qualified on pole again. I believe that's his second straight pole. Kyle Larson second, Daniel Hemrick third, Cole Custer fourth, and Kyle Busch running for the three-peat, the weekend sweep, qualified fifth. Dylan Lumpton, he had a single car spin, it looked like. Oh, no, he had contact with Ryan Sieg, and he had a really hard hit on the inside wall. I think it was in a spot that did not have safer barriers before the most recent track repave, where they did a lot of safety adjustments. So glad to see he was okay. Christopher Bell won stage one. Kyle Larson second. Tyler Reddick third. Kyle Busch fourth. And Ryan Blaney fifth. Nothing really happened in stage two, and Kyle Larson ended up winning stage two. Ryan Blaney second. Justin Allgaier third. Cole Custer fourth. And Tyler Reddick fifth. There was a really interesting issue. Brandon Jones, who was having a really good race for his standards, he was running with Kyle Busch, who was having not so good race based off of his previous record. They got some contact, their teammates, remember, and then the Fox Sports crew, they zoomed in on Kyle Busch giving a certain hand gesture to Brandon Jones, and I was laughing so much because they let it stay there on the screen for like 4 or 5 seconds, and I'm like, how long does it take production to realize that that's not supposed to be on the screen when you're doing national TV? But that I found that funny. And then the next big thing, which frustrates me to no end, is Austin Cindric wrecked, because of course he did. Because Austin Cindric doesn't deserve to be running full-time. And if he ever gets a Cup Series ride, he's going to be the next Danica Patrick, in my opinion, when it comes to wrecks. But he wrecked. That causes the caution. And then Ryan Reed ended up causing a caution around 15 laps to go. He hit the wall. I personally don't think there was much debris to come from that, and I kind of question their call on the caution there, but didn't seem like anybody was too mad about it. That was with 15 laps to go. And then there was another questionable caution. Ross Chastain, he spun out. He saved it. I don't think he hit a wall at all. He saved it, but they still called a caution with 11 laps to go. So that was right after the restart from the previous caution. So I personally don't think that should have been called a caution either. But then they got restarted again, and Kyle Larson drove away, ended up winning the race over Christopher Bell, Justin Allgaier, Ryan Blaney, and Elliott Sadler. Moving on, that's really all we got to talk about in the Xfinity race. We'll move on to the Cup Series. And we really don't have much to talk about in the Cup Series at all. Ryan Blaney was on the pole, so good for him. Kevin Harvick second, Kurt Busch third, Martin Truex Jr. in fourth, and Kyle Larson fifth. Fairly normal names. Kurt Busch, a good qualifying effort, but the rest of them is kind of predictable at this point. Lots of Fords up front. Fords, again, seeming to be the dominant car. Chevys, they just haven't adjusted to the new body yet, and we knew that would happen. It happened with the Toyotas last year. I mean, besides Truex, like the Joe Gibbs cars, they struggled a ton until Denny Hamlin finally got that first win at, what was it, New Hampshire or something in July. So Toyota struggled adjusting to their car, and Chevy's going to struggle adjusting to the new Chevy body this year. So Fords definitely have the upper hand there. I thought Toyotas might be a little stronger, but they're not. But nothing happened in Stage 1. Kevin Harvick won Stage 1. The only other notable thing that happened was during the pit stop cycle, there was kind of an off-sequence strategy because the tires were wearing so fast, the majority of the field decided to split the stage in half. It was an 80-lap stage. They split it into 40 and 40 roughly. But Michael McDowell, David Reagan, Matt Benedetto, Jimmy Johnson, and William Byron, they stayed out. They were hoping for a caution because they would have trapped a lot of people a lap down this early in the race. But the caution did not come out. Michael McDowell did lead like 11 laps, but he would end up having an issue. I think he lost a cylinder and then decided to give up on the race. So unfortunate for him. He was having a really good weekend. Qualified about 15th, had some really good practice runs, but tough luck for McDowell. But Kevin Harvick won stage 1, Martin Truex Jr. second, Kyle Larson third, Ryan Blaney fourth, and Joey Logano fifth. Nothing happened in stage 2 at all. Kind of the same deal, split the stage in half. Harvick won stage 2 again. Harvick's been dominating. Ryan Blaney second, Kyle Larson third, Joey Logano fourth, and Kyle Busch fifth. There were 2 incidents that happened during the final stage. Jamie McMurray either blew a tire or overdrove the exit of the corner and crashed and hit the wall. He was out of the race. And then they restarted, and pretty soon after that restart, Kurt Busch and Chase Elliott were running next to each other, and they didn't really get a good camera angle on this from my perspective. But Kurt Busch must have just gotten loose coming out of turn 4 and just drove straight into Chase Elliott. And that was really it. It wasn't a big fiasco or anything. It literally looked like he just forgot that he was going straight and he just kept turning, is what it looked like in my opinion. But, so that was that. And then Kevin Harvick wins the race. He led 217 out of like the 250-ish laps there were. Pretty much as close to domination as you can get. Kyle Busch second, Kyle Larson third, Martin Truex Jr. fourth, Ryan Blaney fifth. All guys who were running up front for the majority of the day. It was really a super boring race, honestly. I'm surprised that I actually managed to watch all of it without having, like a video I was editing or something else that I was doing, playing a game on the side, because that's usually what I do during boring cup races. But I actually sat through this whole one, and it was incredibly boring. But one thing I did note, and I told this to the people I was watching with, they had a huge crowd at the track. Granted, they did sand over some bleachers down the front stretch towards the front of the grandstands, which is understandable, and that might have attributed to what my perspective of it was, but they had a lot of people there. A lot of people. The grandstands were pretty much full, and I find that absolutely astonishing. So yeah, good turnout, and I guess that's why they ended up getting a second race. The sad part about it is that race is going to be in the chase, and if it's anything like this one, it's going to be an incredibly boring chase race. I can't recall if it's the first race of the chase, or if I know it's in the first round, I believe. So that's a little unfortunate. The race ended with only 9 cars on the lead lap. And we are now 3 races into the season. Kevin Harvick has 2 wins and 13 playoff points. He has those 2 wins, so that's 10, and then he's won 3 stages, 2 here today and then 1 last week. So he's set. I mean, when you look at the playoff, the majority of the people in the last year's playoffs, they didn't have any more than 10 bonus points. So he's already at 13, and I definitely don't think this is going to end anytime soon. We're going to Phoenix next week, which is Kevin Harvick Central. Honestly, he's won every Phoenix race there is to win, basically. So, yeah, that's that. Will be a short review this week. I'm actually surprised I got 15 minutes out of it, but thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more content from ATF Gaming, be sure to hit that red subscribe button. It really means a lot to me, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.